Hello viewer, my name is Stella with Stella JB Fashion. Today I will be showing you on how to sew your perfect and neat corset. The materials and basic measurement for this course will be in the description below. This video is part 2 of my corset sewing class playlist. At the end of this video, you will know how to sew your fabric panels. Stay tuned for my next video on sewing the corset lining panels together. A great way to add comfort to your design. The link to the corset sewing playlist will be in the links. If you are new to this corset design, like the one we will use for this class, see the links below for my course on drafting a simple corset. And remember to subscribe to the Stella JB channel and click to the bell for notifications to see more great fashion content. This is an industrial machine. It uses electric and we also have manual. For those of you that don't have the industrial machine, can also use the manual machine. Okay, what we do is taking the center front and the side front, joining it with 1/2 inch. What you do is stitching, that is the you knot it, make sure it don't get loose. That is why you have to stitch the beginning, then move the fabric, control it by your hands by shifting it front. While sewing, be careful with your hands, because if your hands is too close to the needle, it can hold your hands down, and that's another problem. So you need to be extremely careful with your hands. That is that for that. You take the other part, the other side of the corset, join it to the other center front. Make sure you align it. Do same, stitch it, make sure you knot it, stitching, then control it with your hands, align it very well, stitch it. Okay, that's it. Then make sure you cut the thread for neater work. Make sure after sewing, always iron your allowance. By opening it, when you open it, you iron it. It gives your work a very neat and unique shape. So the next thing you do, you pick the center and the side front of the cup. You join them together. There's a notch there. You always notch. Make sure the two notches are joined together. It's like your guideline. You align it very well properly by using 1/2 inch in joining it. 1/2 inch. That is what you use to join it. Okay. Trying to fit it, you use 1/2 inch to join it. Make sure you stitch. Okay, you do the same thing to the other parts of it, taking the second part of it, because it's 2. What I'm doing right now is just cutting out the thread that are not needed there, just to make your work look neater. So you pick the other one, do it same with what you did to the first one, align it and join it together. Using 1/2 inch. Using 1/2 inch. Stitch it by pushing it, using your hand to control it. So that's just what I did then. You stitch, cut out the thread, so what we're doing right now is coupling the back panel. We are done with the front panel. This is the center back of the fabric. So you'll be joining it also with the side back of the fabric. Make sure you label it. It was labeled, that is why I'm able to differentiate them. Right now, I'm joining the dart allowance by 1/2 inch. I cut off the darts, so cutting it off, and I'm joining it back by 1/2 inch allowance. So you stitch, then you control your fabric. That's just what I'm doing right now. Joining with 1/2 inch allowance, then you stitch. You do same thing to the other parts of the panel. Make sure you iron after stitching. Very, very important. Open the seam allowance. You iron it very well. So what I'm doing right now is also using the other parts. You stitch. This is a fabric, it's a very soft fabric, it's sticky. If you're not careful, it's slick. So you have to take your time to align it very well. You join, then sew. Control it with your hands. Then you have to stitch. So that is all for that. So we are sewing the back. Okay, the darts, just join. We are joining the darts together. That's just all we are doing right now. Join the darts together. You control with your hand, then stitch at the end. Cut the thread to give you a network. So what you do, bringing the curbs to join into the front panel. As you can see, as I'm doing, you make sure the lines align together. The center line of the curb align with the center panel of the front. As I'm doing it, you use pin to pin it down. Hold it down with pin, as you can see. Make sure it's aligned with the one on the curb. You pin it down like so. So you also hold it, the edge to the edge. Make sure you hold it because there is also a notch there. Align with the notch. Make sure they are aligned together. Then you fix the rest. You do the same thing to the other parts. It will fit in by the time you sew it. Just hold it so that when you are sewing it, it's not going to give you a problem. You do the same thing. That is why it's always good to lunge. When you notch it, you will see it's all going to align. You pin it down to make it easy for you. Okay, like so. Hold it. Like I'm doing. So when you are done with this, you take it to the machine and sew it round. You need to be careful. Sometimes the pins are not sharp. So make sure they are aligned. You stitch, then you sew round. So if you think it's going to be a little bit, or you feel it's not going to align very well, you can notch the main fabric, the front one, just notch it. But for this part, when you cut it perfectly well, it's going to fit and it's not going to give you a problem. Just make sure it's aligned together. Be careful. even with the pins. Just trying to align it together with 1/2 inch. Just sew it that way. Joining with 1/2 inch. As you're sewing, you're taking off your pin. Open the seam, but open it flat as I'm doing. Same thing at the front, at the top. Make sure they align. It's very important to make your work neat. So you sew 1/2 inch. You don't have to be in a haste. Take your time. So like so. Make sure it's aligned. Just 1/2 inch. You have to be careful. Then stitch. Cut the thread. Cut the thread to make your work neater. As I'm doing. Just check every places. If there's anywhere to cut thread, make sure you cut the thread. Make your work look neat. So what you have done here, you also do it in the other parts. You have to be very careful of the line, making sure they are aligned together. You pin it down. Exactly what you did to the other one. The other part, you also do it here. The notch, make sure they match, pin it down. The same thing, pin it round to hold it so when you're sewing it will be very easy for you. Also locate the other notch. That's why it's good to notch to make your work easy. You pin it down as I'm doing. Take it to your machine to sew 1/2 inch also. You notch it, you have to stitch. You stitch it. Half an inch out through. So align it, then sew 1/2 inch. Make sure the notch are matching. Just take your time to make sure you align it very well. Make sure the two lines, the points, they are touching each other. And open up the seam allowance. And sew. Watch your hand carefully while sewing. So you continue sewing that way until you get to the other side. 1/2 inch. Make sure you take off the pins. Hold it down, then you stitch at the end. Always make sure you stitch it. cut the thread to make your work neat. Always make sure you iron your clothes after stitching. It makes your work neat. Thanks for joining me. This has been Stella with Stella JB Fashion. Comment if you have any questions and check my links if you need help with your fashion designs. I would love to help you perfect your work. If you found this video helpful, press the like button and subscribe to the Stella JB Fashion channel for more helpful tutorials and content for fashion designers.